You guys, Miss Steele here. So this week we are talking about weaving and we're also talking about contrast. So that is what we're going to make with this. We're going to kind of make an optical illusion using contrast and weaving. So for this project you're going to want a white piece of paper. Here is mine. You're going to want a colored piece of paper because this is what's going to contrast it. I'm using black because we're going to make this super colorful and the black will contrast all that color. This is what we're going to make our strips out of to weave in here. You're going to want a ruler or something with a straight line because we want to try to make our weaving even. Glue, scissors, pencil eraser, and then you want something to color in with because we're going to make this really colorful. I'm going to be using paints, but you can use what you have, whether that's markers, crowns, possibly paints, whatever you have to color in. Sorry, I'm reaching over for my water cup. So I'm going to get all of these things out of the way and leave just my pencil and my eraser. So for this background, what we're going to do is we're going to start making circles that kind of radiate out, and then we're going to paint those in. So I'm going to start with my first circle here in the middle. They definitely don't have to be perfect, but as good of a circle as you can make in the middle of your paper. So there's my first circle. And now I'm going to start adding circles going around. We're going to make circles around our circle. I'm not going to put them too close together because I am going to be painting in between, and if they're too close, because we're going to be coloring them in all with different colors, it's going to make it harder to paint. So then I am adding in another circle like that. And then here is another circle, and I'm trying to space them out pretty evenly. You can see I'm drawing really light, and then I'm going to go back and draw them in darker. So now what you're going to see is I don't have enough room on these sides, so I'm going to start hopping off the paper like that. So you can see me going around and around and around. So now, because I traced those kind of lightly, I'm going to draw them a little bit darker. Like that. So I'm going to get these drawn darker and then erase any of my leftover pencil lines so then I can start getting it painted in. So you should have something kind of like this that we can start coloring in. Alright, I'm going to get some of my extra lines erased and then we'll move on to our next step. So I got some of mine erased so I can still see them, but they're not as bright. So what we're going to do is we're going to start putting in some primary colors, but we're going to leave a space in between. So what primary colors you add in is up to you, but we want to add in primary colors and then leave a space white. So that is what I'm going to do. And then in those spaces in between our primary colors, we're going to add in the secondaries that it mixes to make. So I'm going to start out with some yellow. And this also helps us so our paints don't run together. So I'm going to start with some yellow in the center. And then our next one, we would leave white for our next ring. And then I think I'm going to add in some red. So our primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. They are our primary colors because we mix these three colors together to make every other color. So you can't mix together any colors to make red or blue or yellow. They just kind of exist on their own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep painting this in using primary colors and then leaving a space in between that I'm going to go back and fill in with our secondaries. So there's our first. Maybe I'll do blue next. So I'm going to get this painted in, and then we will move on to our next step. But we're adding in primary colors, leaving a space. What order you adding your primary colors is kind of up to you. So I got some primary colors painted in, adding the gaps in between. So what I'm going to do now is in between, I'm going to add in whatever two colors are next to it, whatever it mixes to make, if that makes sense. So in between, red and yellow will be orange. Red and blue together make purple, so purple will go here, green will go here, and then because there's not another color next to this yellow, it has to be a color that yellow mixes to make, so it would be green or orange. So I'm going to start out with the orange, and then I'm filling in the gaps in between with whatever color the two primaries make together. So red and yellow make orange, so orange is going in right here. And then we know that these two together make purple, these two together make green. Our secondary colors are the colors that come second after mixing our primary colors, and that is purple, orange, and green. So I'm going to get the rest of this painted in. You will use whatever you have, whether that's paint or colors in between. And then we will move on to our next step. So I'm going to keep getting this painted in, and then we will check in so we can make our weaving. So I have this all painted in and it is dried now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over so we can prep it for our weaving. You can see I already added a line right there. Using my ruler, I held it down because we're not going to cut or weave in this area. It's going to help hold our weaving together. So we have that over here. So now what I'm going to do, and this is one of our rulers, super helpful, but if you can find anything that has a straight edge, that'll work too. And now you can see I'm not going on this line, but to the side, using my ruler to space it out. I'm adding straight lines all the way down, not drawing in this area because we're not going to draw or cut in it. We are going to leave it alone. There is my next one. And so I'm going to go all the way down, adding these. If you don't have a ruler at home, you could use a notebook, even like the edge of your Chromebook, anything that you can use as a straight edge to kind of help you draw those straighter lines, and you want to make for sure it's even. So I'm going to keep adding in these lines, and then after I add them in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on these lines. So I'm going to cut, 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 stop, cut, 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 stop, and do that all the way down. So I'm going to get this cut, and then we are going to start weaving. Alright, so we have these all cut. So now your next step would be taking your colored paper and cutting out strips. You could do this by simply using that same straight edge or ruler on any colored paper. Like I said, I have black, but you can use a different color. I think black looks the nicest because we have such a colorful paper. And then you'll draw your strips and cut them out. I already have some right here. So now we are going to start our weaving. Getting all this other stuff out of the way. I just need these two. So now for weaving, we go under, over, under, over. So I pick it up, you can see, and we're basically changing it every time. And it should look like a checkerboard like this. So now I'm going to slide this all the way up to the top. And then I'm going to make for sure it's even on both sides. And then just to make this easier for me, I'm actually going to glue as I go. So picking up this strip, a dot of glue right there, boom. This strip, dot of glue, boom, making for sure it's pushed all the way up, nice and straight, squishing on those. So now we're going to move on to our next strip. So we started under, so for this one we're going to start over. And then if you see every other one, I am picking up, and then I'm scooting it all the way down. And then I'm getting it as close to this one as I can get it. And then again, I'm going to glue as I go. So I'm going to glue in this edge. Holding it down so it will stick. And then again, I'm going to do one more to show you guys, and then I'm just going to follow through. So you can see the checkerboard's starting to show up. There should be a space whenever you're weaving like that. If there's two black pieces next to each other, you know you messed up your weaving somewhere. So we started over, so now we're going to start under. And then I pick up every other one, and then I'm going to move it all the way down. And again, glue my edges. I'm going to keep going with this under over. You can see this one I started under, so the next one I would start over and continue that pattern. I'm going to keep going, getting these glued, and we will check in whenever we're close to the end. Right, so I'm at the very end. So I just wanted to show you guys, you can see each time I change. So this one I started under, so now I'm going to start over. And I have been gluing as I go so it doesn't fall apart when I try to move it. Making for sure I'm tucking it right up next to it. Adding my glue on both ends. Like that. And it looks like we might have room for one last strip. So this is over, so I know I want to go under. Skipped right here. Like that, and then I'm going to get it glued down, and then we will be done. I've been working on the less colorful side just because I think it's easier to see whenever it's just white. And then as well on this end area, we want to go ahead and glue down all of these guys. Like that. Flip it over. There we go. I'm going to glue down these. But it is our optical illusion weaving. It has some contrast in there. Making for sure I glue down these edges on this end. And that is it, my friends. I cannot wait to see how your projects come out. There is mine. I will see you guys all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, or afternoon. Goodbye, you guys.